Well, I'm excited because I
Me
get
too.
to interview Mike Donehey from 10th Avenue North here on the Beyond Sunday podcast. I've had a lot of guests on this show. I've interviewed some guests multiple times, but never in the history of this podcast has Mike Donehey been here. So I'm just
No,
pumped,
that's
man.
true.
How are you doing
First time.
today?
You know, I got a workout in this morning, feeling pretty delightful. Our friend is building shelves in our closet. My wife and I have a very small closet that we share, and it's always just oozing over just stuff everywhere. We have 4 children. Um, so I'm really excited about some organization. I found as a creative, I really need organized space because otherwise my brain feels like it's going to explode. So I'm really excited about this.
That'll be a game changer.
I'm going to be able to find my t-shirts, bro.
Well, speaking of small closets, my family and we traveled in an RV for like 4 years full time.
Come on, baby.
I mean, that just teaches you the value of organization in small spaces. It's unbelievable. And now we have a house here in Orlando, and we have a much bigger closet, and it's still a mess. It's still chaos. There's still not enough
Come on.
space. It's funny.
Bro, we were just in Jacksonville last weekend.
Oh,
So
really?
close.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
too
we're
far.
going to be in Melbourne. We're going to be in Melbourne on what is that? September 28th. You should come over.
I will do that. I'll bring the whole family out. Is it safe for the whole family?
Pretty provocative what we do. No, brag.
No,
Yeah.
that sounds great. Yeah, I would love that. Mike, let's
Oh, shit.
what's something that you could talk about for a while that most people would be surprised by?
NBA basketball?
Oh, let's go
Is that
there.
what you're looking for, like a spiritual answer or just a
No,
random
I'm actually
fact?
I'm not looking for a spiritual answer. The more carnal and earthly, the better.
I mean, so I'm at the YMCA today, and there's a tall gentleman, and I'm like, "Hey, what's your name? You want to play twos?" Because we had 3 guys. We were playing 36, which is like 21, but no free throws. And he's like, "Oh man, I'll play some twos." I go, "What's your name?" He goes, "Orlando." I go, "Bro, Orlando, like Nick Anderson saying 45 ain't like 23 because he stole the ball from Michael Jordan. And then Jordan dropped 38 on him the next night." That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Ooh, see, I knew what you were saying when you said Michael Jordan, but I don't know the rest of the stuff that you mentioned there. So,
It's when Michael Jordan came back from retirement and they were playing the Orlando Magic in the playoffs. And there was a 1-point game, and Michael Jordan was coming down the ball with the coming down the court with the ball, and Nick Anderson came from behind and stole it from him. And then the Bulls lost. They ended up losing that series, but Michael wasn't in basketball shape.
right, take
But
some
they
time.
came back next year and had their way with the Magic. I met Larry Bird. My dad is from Boston. Big Larry Bird fan.
Yep.
And I'm standing in the Pacers gym because we were on this tour called Winter Jam. And me and one other guy were going to shoot around. And I'm standing there, and this door at the end of the gym. Boom. And it's just the two of us in the practice gym. And it's Larry Bird. And he's walking toward us. And
Wow.
I do not play it cool. I I beeline toward him at a dead sprint, and then he just keeps walking, and I get next to him just like a little hobbit. I go, hey, Larry, I love you. You're my favorite player. You're my dad's favorite player. My dad's from Boston. I love you. I grew up watching you. I watched all your games. Hey, do you want to play horse? You want to play one-on-one? You want to hold me in your arms like a little baby?" He goes, "No, man, I got to get home, but don't you boys go hurting yourself now." Gave me a high five. Since that time, I've never missed a three-pointer. Since high-fiving
Wow.
Ray Bird.
That's
I'm a
unbelievable.
100%.
So he was there to see your show, right? That was the part of the
That's
story you
why he
left
was
out?
leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he was leaving midday.
So what's your team? Do you have a current like favorite team?
I mean, because I grew up watching the Celtics with my dad, who's from Boston, I've been a Celtics fan ever since. And through
Mm.
the drought, people will call me bandwagoner, but because they just won. Yeah,
Right.
we did. Boom.
I'm a Bucks fan. So I wasn't like
That's too bad.
too happy about the Celtics winning. But hey, you know, how's everybody feeling about Jason Tatum these days?
I mean, the feeling is good now that they got a championship.
It's true. Can't beat that.
They're hard. Boston fans are not easy to please.
Yeah.
Not easy to please.
So do you are you like the kind of guy that like you watch regular season NBA basketball, or you just tune into the playoffs?
So I have 4 children, so I don't have the time to tune in and watch, but I will uh, catch the highlight. I'll watch like the 6, 7 minute extended highlights of a game
There
just
you
so
go.
I can still feel like I'm watching but not wasting my entire life.
Yeah. That's good.
Not that it's a waste. Just for me personally, that would not be a great economy of my time.
Sure. At least for this season of life. Maybe in retirement, you can just watch
If I were
basketball.
if I were an assistant coach, that'd be a great delineation. That'd be a
So
great use of my time.
did you play like in high school, college?
Did I play? I didn't so much play as much as I dominated. I did. I'm so short. I actually was incredible in 8th grade because I was this tall in 8th grade, and then I
Muggsy
didn't grow at
Bogues,
all.
you
I
know?
didn't grow at all. So I was like a power forward in middle school, just dominating, and won the MVP my 8th grade year. And then I went to high school, and I remember the tryout for JV, and I went for a layup. You know, I just did my move, went for a layup, and someone came from behind and just swatted it. I went, "This is different." So took me some years to adjust being a little guy, and now I hoop pretty ferociously.
Mm, it's
Play
amazing.
soccer too. I was actually better at soccer than basketball.
Okay.
But in this age, in this stage of my life, it's harder to find guys who will play soccer because it's too much running for most guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say you never hear about pickup soccer. Maybe that's a thing in
I
certain places, but pickup
I mean,
basketball,
that is a thing all over the world, just not here in America so much.
it's true. It's true. Um, well, Mike, tell us a little bit about why music? Like, why do you love music? Was there like a moment or a turning point in your life when you were like, I want to pursue music? What
The
was that
first
moment?
turning point was when there was this claymation show when I was a kid called the California Raisins, and they
Yes.
sang Marvin Gaye's "I Heard It Through the Grapevine,"
I used to
and
have the little like action figures. Are they called action
What
figures?
Yes, of course you did. Well, they were more like figurines because they didn't
Figurines.
move.
Right.
An action figure would have
True.
movable arms,
Yeah.
appendages. Uh, oh yeah, I'm obsessed. I got them all. Hardee's did a thing where you got a free California raisin and a Happy Meal or whatever it was.
Wow.
Anyhow, I then became obsessed with Marvin Gaye, and my mom listened to nothing but Motown all the time, that style, that era.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always sing with my mom, but was never a musician. I tried to learn how to play the piano, but they told me it's either piano or soccer when I was 9. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna play soccer." Then when
Wow,
I was a
they're
senior,
making you choose at 9 years old, piano or
yeah,
soccer. That's
yeah.
intense.
So I always loved music, big, like loved it, but didn't know how to play anything. And then
Yeah.
my senior year of high school, I got in I guess you could call it a fatal car accident because I got thrown out of a car at 50 miles an hour, broke my back in 2 places, broke my skull,
Oh my word.
flat flatlined 3 times. So when they found me on the street in a pool of blood, this is true. I didn't have a pulse, so they hit me with paddles, got my pulse going, threw me in the ambulance. 2 times on the way to the hospital, I flatlined. That 3rd time that I flatlined, I was transported to heaven. I saw Jesus' face. No, I didn't. Actually, I was just kidding. That
Oh,
part
I was like,
is a lie.
this is starting to get good. You're one of
Uh,
those guys.
yeah. I mean, if I held to that story, I'd sell a lot more books. I'll tell you that.
It's true.
Um, but I didn't see Jesus. But I woke up in intensive care with a broken back, broken skull. My ear had been reattached by a surgeon, and I would say 3 weeks after that, I was still laying on my back waiting for my back to heal, and I said, "Hey, I think I wanna learn how to play guitar." So a couple months later, I got a guitar for the first time, and that's how I started playing music. So I'm very late to the
Wow.
game. Didn't start playing guitar till I was a senior in high school.
That's unreal. So do
It's
you
kinda
think
wild. I don't even think about it until I tell it, and then I go, "Did that really happen?" Because it almost feels made up, but true story.
it's feasible that if that accident never happened to you, that you may not have pursued a career in music?
I mean, of course, you can't ever speak to what could have or should have or was going to happen, but
Right.
it would seem to me, understanding myself, there's no way on God's green earth that I would have slowed down long enough to learn the discipline of an instrument if it weren't for that accident.
So you started with guitar, learning the guitar.
Yeah, I technically had a year of piano lessons when I was little, but yeah, I started playing guitar and got to college and basically just annoyed every friend I had who played uh, guitar and just said, show me how to play, show me how to play." And then, and this is the strange turn in the story, I got to, I was going to go to this university called James Madison University because I was going to be a theater major. I was, the only time I wasn't playing sports, I was acting in school plays. And I was very convinced that I would be an actor. So I was going to go to James Madison for theater. And then my senior year, I did this play where I was Dietrich Bonhoeffer in this play called The Beams Are Creaking.
Wow.
And I memorized pages and pages of his sermons. I had over 50% of the lines of the play, and a bunch of them were just long monologues of Dietrich Bonhoeffer's.
The cost of
And it messed,
discipleship.
yeah, it messed me up. I basically went, man, I couldn't tell you why I think I should be an actor. And I changed courses and applied to this little Christian art school in West Palm Beach, Florida, called Palm Beach Atlantic University. It was college at the time, and got down there and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be an actor for God. Is what I'm gonna do." And then I didn't get any parts in any of the plays. And sidebar, I met these kids my freshman year. So I was like, I'm gonna play soccer. I'm gonna be an athlete. Then I was like, no, I'm gonna be an actor. Then I get to school, I'm gonna be an actor. I just have learned barely how to play the guitar. I'm not even thinking about that. But then I meet this group of kids who just want to worship every night and right in front of my dorm.
Crazy
And
people.
it's South Florida, so it's nice at night all year. And I started 3, 4 times a week sometimes. We would just worship for hours, pray over each other, read scripture, and wouldn't you know it, by my senior year, I'd started a band and I couldn't even do any of the plays at school because our band had so many gigs and stuff. So there really was that. So I talk a lot. I wrote a book called Finding God's Life for My Will. And in it, I make the argument that God's will for our life is not our career. God's will for our life is the posture of our heart.
Love that.
And our career, I guess you could say our occupation is God's particular call on our life. But even that's dangerous because the second you go, this is God's call on my life, what we like to do is we build this identity around it. And it's a dangerous thing to build your identity on the call instead of building your identity on the love of the one who calls.
Amen.
Because the calling, the will of God is the same for us every day. Be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. This is God's will for your life in Christ Jesus. That's 1 Thessalonians 5. So, scripturally speaking, and there's other places, and all the places in scripture that says this is God's will for your life, it has to do with your heart.
Yeah.
So, people are always like, what's God's will for my life? To be joyful. No, I mean my occupation. Oh, well, that's God's call on your life. I know. What's the call? What's the call? And people are freaking out. What's the call? I go, well, here's the good news. The call is going to change.
Yep.
Many times, probably. So you don't have to obsess over the call. Okay, but I still need to figure out what the call is, And for that, I think Frederick Buechner says it the most concisely. He says, "Your calling is where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet."
Oh, that's good.
And I love that because what Buechner is saying is, what most people say is what you're called to is what you love to do, what you've been uniquely wired to do. Well, he's right, but that's only part of it. Because if all you do is go, "What makes me come alive? What do I love to do?" You'll just become a narcissist.
Mm,
But what we do in Christendom is we ask the other question. We go, "What does the world need? What's the world need? What's the world need?" And we go running off to Africa, building wells, nothing wrong with that. But if God hasn't uniquely wired you to do that, then you're going to go running into places that you aren't designed for, and you're going to get burnt out. And I tell kids all the time, the sweet spot is when you go, "Okay, what do I love? Like, what am I uniquely wired to do and love? And how can I uniquely serve the world with that gift?" And that's like where God's
beautiful.
calling is.
Yep.
But an addendum to that is that might be, so the will of God is our heart. The call of God is the unique things that he has created in advance for us. This is Ephesians 2:10. You're Christ's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which he has prepared for you in advance. And all you have to do is walk in them. That should be your relief. That even the good works you're going to do, you don't have to create. They were already created for you. So
Mm.
that's like the calling, will God, calling of God. But then the ministry, this is what really cracks me up, is people like, "I'm the minister of music. I'm the minister of preaching." And I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it's confusing because that's not what Paul says our ministry is. Paul doesn't say your ministry is music.
Yep.
He doesn't say that. He says you've been given the ministry of reconciliation.
Come on.
So something I like to remind people in the church is everyone, no matter what your gifting is, we are part of the exact same ministry. And the ministry is reconciliation. Now, you might use music to accomplish that,
Yep.
but the ministry is the same. And what's so weird to me is how many Christians are really great at music, are really great at preaching, are really great at all this stuff, but they don't want to forgive people. I'm like, that's what we're here to do.
That's so
Be not
boring
like,
though, Mike. Like we're obsessed with the outside when God is concerned about the inside.
well, that's of course. That's of course. And
But
that should be a freedom, is like, what's more important, what you do or the love with which you do it.
yeah.
And that's 1 Corinthians 13,
Yeah.
Okay, I've been preaching now. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not sorry. That's why we're doing this.
you answered my question before I could even ask the question,
What
which
was
I
the
love.
question?
Well, I didn't ask the
Praise God.
question. You just answered it. I had on my list of questions here, was going to ask you about your book. Because I
Well,
love
that's only
that.
one of them. That's only one book. I got another one.
There is another one, Grace in the Gray. But do we get a live showing here
Check this out.
of the
Okay,
book?
this is Grace in the Gray. And this is the Grace in the Gray in Dutch, baby.
Whoa, amazing.
Woo! Isn't that
Why
crazy?
Dutch? Is that the first language?
I don't know. The Dutch publisher called me and said, "Hey, we want to publish your book in Dutch." So I don't actually know if they did a good job translating it. They could have had me saying, had to trust on that one.
That's so good. No, but back to what you were saying, Mike. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like occupationally what we do, there's freedom there. Like I could do a handful of different things. You could do a handful of different things. That's just an expression of the will of God for us, right? So we have choices that we can make. God doesn't necessarily lock us into, you have to just be this one thing, but he calls us to be a certain kind of person, a certain kind of people, and then we can express that identity in different ways. Am I off?
Yeah, Yeah, no, it's I mean, I think you're exactly right. Now there's a mystery there that every day of mine was written in your book before one of them came to pass.
Hmm.
There is this like mystery, but then Ephesians 2:10, it says, you're Christ's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which he has prepared in advance for you that you may walk in them. So there is this like weird tension, you can't get away from it, that God has wired you and created these opportunities for you, and now there is this weird responsibility of, are you going to walk in what he has created for you to do? But I
Yeah.
definitely think the question that we ought not obsess about is, should I be a doctor? It's like, well, do you want to be a doctor? I really do, but I don't think God wants me to. Well, why would you want to be a doctor? Well, I want to help people and serve them. Sounds like a great
Sounds
reason
great.
to wanna be a doctor, and the question isn't so much, "Should I be a doctor?" It's, "What kind of doctor will I be
Yep.
when I am a doctor?" You know?
So good. Mike, what's an insecurity that you've had to overcome to do what you do?
Uh, you only have an hour? I mean,
Hey, I'll go all day if you can.
yeah, I will say that, self-depreciating, you're supposed to knock yourself. I have not struggled as much in the insecurity as some of my other artist friends, like, there's been a maybe overconfidence is probably the way that I falter. I was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be great. I don't know how to do any of this. Let's go."
Let's
I was a
go.
theater
Yeah.
major. So theater major, you're like, "I don't know how to do that, but I can act like I know how to do that?" But my insecurities, I mean, every artist, y do you like what I'm doing? Will people show up if we go on tour?
Mm,
You know? Uh as soon as you think you love what you're doing, there's another artist, you're like, "Oh, so their music is so much better than mine. Why do I even write?" You know? So I mean, you really gotta have thick skin as an artist.
yep.
I would say the biggest thing for me, one of the things, well, gosh, what do I say? Um, 10th Avenue North took 5 years off, and reassembling the band, I mean, had to go through a ton of insecurities. Like, why are you doing this, Mike? Are you doing this because you can't let it go? Are you doing this because you're obsessed with people applauding you? Uh, is anybody gonna care if you come back? You know, are you ever gonna write a song as good as the songs that were popular? Um, look at these other artists who used to open up for 10th Avenue North and now who are way more popular than you ever were, and then I'm
This is real talk.
calling in churches, to invite worship leaders to our shows, and the secretaries are going, 10,000 who? What? Like, yeah, that's right. I'm insignificant.
So
I mean,
how do you deal with that? How do you overcome that? Just ignoring it and saying God has called me to do this. Let's go. Leave the results to him.
you know, well, sure. The practice that has been the most helpful for me is consciously celebrating other artists.
Hmm.
Like when I get insecure about my music, I just text my artist friends. I go listen to their music and I text them and I say, "Oh my gosh, I love this. And this is what I love about it. And it's so amazing." And it's funny when you live out of abundance like that, it creates abundance for you
Yeah, it's good.
because you start to go, "Oh gosh, God's giving so much talent to all these people. Maybe he'll give me some too." There's a really great Parker J. Palmer has this little book. I think it's called Listening to Your Life. Let Your Life Speak. That's what it's called. Let Your Life Speak. There's a Frederick Buechner book called Listening to Your Life. Parker J. Palmer, Let Your Life Speak. And in it, he talks about the different seasons and the spiritual life that mirrors each season. And when he's talking about summer, he says, summer is so abundant. It's overly abundant with life and growth. And he says the temptation as followers of Jesus is to live lives of scarcity.
Yeah.
But when you live a life of scarcity, you create the very scarcity you're afraid of. Like during COVID, we didn't run out of toilet paper. Remember when we ran out of toilet paper?
Oh,
We
yeah.
didn't run out of there wasn't a toilet paper shortage. It was just a couple people were afraid of running out of toilet paper, and they moved the toilet paper from the grocery store to their personal closet. So there was just as much toilet paper in circulation. It just was in a few people's pantries. And that's what he's saying. He goes, when you live a life of scarcity, you create for others the very scarcity that you are afraid of. So as an artist, when I'm feeling insecure, that's scarcity. That's like God doesn't have enough for me. He doesn't have, he's not going to provide for me. And so when I start celebrating the provision of God for other people, it gives me confidence that God will take care of me.
Yeah, no, it's really helpful because I think there's the tendency in all of us to just sort of sit on the sidelines to kind of play it safe, where it's like, I'm not going to be vulnerable, right? Like, you didn't have to be this vulnerable. You could have just been like, hey, I led a successful band for a long time. I'm good, right? But now you're
Oh,
stepping into something that's a little bit exciting, but yet uncomfortable, right? And I think there's a lot of people, artists, whatever it is that you do, where it's like, it's a little bit safer for me just to like sit here. And on the sidelines, I can kind of criticize everybody else, but I don't have to have any skin in the game, right? Which is a scary, scary place to be.
I post a lot of stuff on social media, a lot of my thoughts. And I always notice the people who are the most angry when I'm cool with dissent. I'm all about a good debate. I'm all about bring a great argument and be gracious as you do it.
Right.
But the people who are the most volatile in their uh, condemnation of my opinions, I often will go and just look up their page and go, oh, they're private and they don't post anything. And
Interesting.
you're like, interesting. You're just jumping on here, tearing everybody else apart,
Right.
but you're not posting what you think about anything. Um, and I would say, what do I want to say there? I was going to say something really, really good. It was going to be the best, probably, what I was about to say. Sorry.
That
Can't help.
imitation was worth the price of the podcast right there.
I'm not going to say I'm the best, but I'm probably the best. It's good. It's pretty good. I'm sorry. This is what I would say. There is the more you look at Jesus, at least me, the freer I am to be misunderstood.
Yep.
Jesus was misunderstood so much. But he was working from validation, not for validation, right?
Right.
Before he starts his ministry, he gets baptized. I'm sure you know this. This is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. And so, as artists, we just have to really get that question answered before we go out on stage. Because if I'm using an audience to answer that question, is God pleased with me? They're never going to be enough. They're never going to clap loud enough or long enough. They're not going to spin my song enough. They're not going to, show up enough. And the second you go, hey, I wrote with this young artist, okay? And she's sitting there and she goes, I was just thinking the other day, if God was going to introduce me, what would he say? And that's such a simple question, and it wrecked me. of just, oh, right. As much as I would disagree with him, he would say, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased."
Mm,
And when you are operating out of that, it's just, of course you can be vulnerable. Of course
yeah, because
you
you're
can
secure.
try things, you know?
Yeah.
Thi Every year on my birthday, I look up the top regrets of people in hospice care. You can look this up very easily. Hospice nurses, uh, top regrets. There's tons of articles on it.
What a
And
great
they all
habit of
right?
doing that regular. That's really
It's
good,
good
man.
practice.
Good
So
practice.
every year on my birthday, I have a couple little practices I do. Every year on Father's Day, I go for a drive and I listen to Brandon Flowers' song "Between Me and You," which if you haven't heard that song, I weep every time
Is that
I listen to it.
The Killers guy?
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
had a solo record. Well, he had a couple solo records, but off his first solo record, go look it up after this podcast. Incredible. Incredible song, maybe the best song. And the other practice I do is on my birthday. Sometimes I like to walk through cemeteries, but I always like to look up these regrets of people who are dying. And the number one, always. Number two is I didn't spend enough time with my friends and family. That's always number two. Spent too much time working. Number one is I didn't take enough risk.
Wow.
And I just want to go, you know what? That is one part of my life that when I lay my head on the pillow to die, I don't want to go, gosh, I played it so safe,
I could have done this.
you know?
Yep.
Usually you learn more from your losses anyway.
Yep. I've got another kind of deep philosophical question for you, and then we'll get on to easier topics, I promise. But this is just how
Talk,
my brain works. So,
talk to me.
what's a healthy way, Mike, to deal with fame? I mean, there's obviously like levels to fame, right? And I don't think it's entirely avoidable. Like, unless you do like what we're talking about, you decide not to do anything, not to be vulnerable, not to put yourself out there. But I was thinking about this, like even Henry Nouwen or Thomas Merton are famous, right? Or were famous for their sort of hidden monastic life, where they're trying to get out of the public eye, but they're famous for that. As leaders, like you have a certain degree of fame as an artist, right? And there's like Brandon Flowers, right? Or there's Taylor Swift. Like there's levels to this. But as leaders who are in the public eye, even local church worship pastor, there's a degree of fame there. How do you steward that fame or attention in a healthy way so that it doesn't crush you?
I think you answered it with the word you used. How do you steward it?
Mm.
I think it's so interesting that Paul does not say, call us leaders. He actually says the opposite. In 1 Corinthians 3, he says, don't call us leaders. And we go, servant leader, Paul. Yeah, I see you. We're obsessed. We're obsessed with the word leader.
Yeah.
Because it strokes our ego. Leader feels good. And fame does the same thing. Strokes our ego, says, you are so special, blah, 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 blah. And my friend Al Andrews, who counseled artists, many artists, much more famous than I'll ever dream of being, he said, there's two types of applause, right? There's like the first applause that is actually good. If you write a song and you play for someone and it's awesome, they should applaud. They should. It's what God did when he creates. Every day of creation, he steps back and goes, that's good. The problem is the second applause is what Al calls it. There's this deeper applause, this sinister underneath applause that goes, oh, he must be so amazing to have written that song. He must be so much more special. And so with fame, right, that like if people acknowledge something you did and they love it and it gets really popular, there's nothing wrong with going, isn't that awesome? That's amazing. I can't believe you guys like that song that much. Awesome. That's good. Yes. The
Right.
problem is when I deserve, I am entitled to, you just believe that underneath applause, believing your own hype, basically. And so the question then becomes, yeah, how do you steward it, right? So here's a question I asked. So I'm in a Q&A with this other young artist who is blowing up. She is getting super famous super fast, right?
Yep.
And she's posting a bunch of stuff on TikTok. So I see that, we're doing Q&A. This 16-year-old girl says, "Hey, how do I blow up on TikTok?" And this young artist, she gives her great advice. "Hey, well, you got to think about the algorithm. You got to think about your thing. You got to think about this. You got to be not afraid of what people think. Just get on there,
Yeah.
share your
Practical.
gift." Oh, very practical. She finishes. I say, "Hey, can I ask a question to you, young lady in the front?" She goes, "Sure." I go, "Um, how many followers do you have?" She goes, "I only have 724." I go, "You're crushing Jesus. He only had 12." Well, he spoke to thousands. I go, "Have any of your posts had over 1,000 plays?" "Well, yeah, a couple." "So you've spoken to multitudes too."
Yep.
But Jesus drilled down with 12. The issue we have with fame is often we're asking, how can I use fame to serve me? And not, how can I use this bit of fame to serve others?
Mm.
How can I get more followers is one question. How do I serve the followers I already have is another question.
Yes.
And I it's so ironic, right? A year and a half ago, I changed the way I did Instagram. Like before, I just like, why am I on here? I hate being on here. It's just so dumb. It's just like, look at me, everybody, look at me. Look at what I'm doing. Look at how cool I am. Look how many people are coming to my show. It was just a fame mongering machine. And I during COVID, I posted this picture of myself. I was like, "Hey, this is who I am. I don't know why you follow me, but if I'm honest, I don't know why I'm on here." So I'm trying to serve people with this platform. Ask me your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. If there's a question you think I might have a good answer for, bro, it took 2 weeks. Now this is during COVID, so I had the time, but it took me 2 weeks to answer all the questions. There's thousands of questions. And in that moment, I had, 45,000 followers on my Instagram. And I went, I have too many followers. I
Mm.
have too many. I cannot serve all these people.
Right.
And that's just a way to kind of rethink fame is going, man, how do I serve the people who are paying me attention? And how do I, as you said, steward this attention back to the one who deserves the attention, who ultimately, because I can't fulfill you, but I know one who
Mm.
can.
Right. And honestly, Mike, that's partly why we're having this conversation. I mean, I've loved your music over the years and appreciated it, but it's kind of because of your Instagram presence that I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy's really like insightful and really helpful and down to earth and real. And I want to have a conversation with him. You know what I mean? Not that like this podcast is some breakthrough development in your career, but like, it's like that was how I was introduced to like kind of who you were behind the scenes a little bit. You know what I mean?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Thanks for listening to
yeah.
my ramblings.
No, they're good. So let's shift gears a little bit here. So I'm a worship leader, and
Yeah, you're right.
this is generally like a worship podcast. And
Okay.
we'll talk about a lot of different things, but kind of generally we're sort of, hey, let's kind of revolve around worship and ministry and local church and all that stuff, like helping worship
Yeah.
pastors do what they do better. So I can't let you leave without just hitting this topic. I don't even know what your thoughts are on it, but what are some of your current thoughts about the current state of like worship music today, congregational worship? What's really encouraging about what you see, and what is maybe concerning about it?
Encouraging, there's a lot of great music and a lot of great resources, and it's easier than ever to get chord charts, to get great songs, to have a band. I remember when I actually don't use the word worship leaders. I kind of alluded to that. That's a whole nother discussion. But when
Wait,
I was facilitating,
what do you use then? What do you use?
worship feeder,
Okay.
Jesus doesn't say to Peter, lead my sheep. He says, feed my sheep.
Hmm.
Again, Paul says, don't call us leaders. So why should I be called a leader? If Paul's like, we shouldn't be called leaders, we should be called stewards of the mystery of God. So you call worship steward, not as trendy. Doesn't stroke the ego quite as much because a
Mm,
steward infers that you have been given the thing
it's good.
that you're stewarding. So I'll use worship facilitator, even
Love
feeder.
that.
Personal conviction. I'm okay if you want to disagree with Paul and use the word leader. Go right ahead. You're wrong, but that's okay. If you're gonna be wrong, be wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep doing Trump.
I love it.
So I wished that when I was doing worship, musical worship, I really wish that I had the amount of um there's so many more what am I trying to say?
Resources.
Tools and
Yeah.
resources, the Shane and Shane have worship initiative where you can actually watch video, an overhead video of someone playing the actual drum parts. I mean, that's
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. The thing that frustrates me is the absurd narrowing of the definition of worship.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. I think calling music worship music is the silliest thing you could possibly do because all music is worship music. All music is worship music. All music. What is worship, right? And now you can argue about the Greek and the Hebrew. When we in English use the word worship is defined a couple different ways. One of the main definitions is to ascribe worth to, or to revere, or to be reverent toward, right? All music is revering, is giving honor, is giving worth to something or someone.
Right.
Even a Limp Bizkit song, "Give Me Something to Break," is of valuing anarchy. You know what I'm saying? It's worshiping anarchy. And I just go, it just pains me that like when our band started and we would do worship at camps and we would play some of our songs. And then the camp director, put his arm around us, go, "Hey, I love what you're doing, but we need you to play more worship songs." Like, but our songs are worship songs. We need you to do more like Chris Tomlin worship songs. And what happens, I've noticed, with all these resources, the most ironic thing is happening is worship leaders, worship feeders are less and less allowed to share their own gift.
Mm.
There's like 5 different entities you're allowed to play their songs in worship. And I go, well, what songs has God given you to speak to your body?
That's right.
Surely he's doing something in you, And one of the things that bothers me is we just think of worship as songs that we all sing together that are easy to sing.
Right.
And Paul says address each other in hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs. Well, that's a pretty broad hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs. Spiritual songs, that category just got really big. And Zephaniah says God sings over us. He rejoices over us with singing. So the next 10th Avenue North album, spoiler alert, is going to be called The Songs I Sing to You, and you is in parentheses. And the idea with that is if I sing a song to you, or I sing a song to you, or I sing a song to you, all of those can be a form of worship.
Yep.
Like sometimes we need to sing together, sometimes we need to be sung over, right? So I just wish that worship pastors had a wider, more expansive idea of what worship could be. And I believe ought to be. I mean, why don't you do a poetry reading in your worship service? You know, why isn't there somebody painting? Why can't you? There's like play a Brandon Flowers song, like for Father's Day, if it just hits, and we make that allowance. Like there's special music, but even that is frustrating to me. It's part of the worship service. It's all that we're doing here is trying to elicit your awe and reverence to God and his values, right? And I think there's a lot of different songs that could accomplish that.
Well, we've gotten a little obsessed with the response of the room. And so if we can have certain songs that everybody can sing that get the hands in the air, that bring the energy, then it's
Bro, you want to talk about altar calls?
Let's talk about it. Altar calls.
Now, caveat, God is so good. I'll bemoan, I'll moan and complain. God is so good to use all of our incorrect methods. It's just what he does. He just redeeming us.
That's right.
But sometimes the ends justify our means when they shouldn't. And I have a buddy, he's a pastor of a church in Portland, and he argues that altar calls set people up for a works righteousness life.
Okay.
Because he's saying, you want to get saved? You got to come down to the front and you got to pray this prayer after me. Well, show me in Scripture an altar call prayer.
Not there.
People go, day of Pentecost, Peter got up and he spoke, and 3,000 were added to their number that day. Well, what did that look like?
How did they track that? How did they track the 3,000?
Yes. How did they track that? And you can watch people get baptized, and that's a pretty good metric. But even people who get baptized, it turns out they weren't really on the train, And I mean, so we get it from Romans 10. If you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, Jesus is Lord, right, you will be saved.
The sinner's
prayer.
But
most commentators would tell you that they are playing on a practice in Rome where a Roman centurion could hold his blade at anybody's throat and say, who is Lord? And they'd have to say, Caesar is Lord. And so when it's actually more radical than coming down to the front of the church. He's saying, when a Roman centurion asks you, who is Lord? You don't say Caesar, you say Jesus. And that's pretty wild, right? So now, God uses altar calls, no doubt. Of course he does, because he uses us. He is okay using faulty methods, because that's why he's using humans, to show that the altar. I'm kind of preaching. I'll stop preaching.
I love it.
Anyhow, I think we want to measure so badly things that I don't think.
We want to be successful.
Yeah, well,
and it's almost like the infrastructure of the altar call is designed to make us as leaders feel better than it is to actually be an effective way to disciple somebody into following Jesus.
Go into the world. It doesn't say go into all the world and evangelize. It says go into all the world and make disciples. Now, has he called some to be evangelists? Absolutely. But the goal of evangelism isn't to just preach, it's to make disciples.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those altar calls where it's like, I see that hand, and I don't see those hands. So it's a good wake-up call.
I'm the opposite altar caller. I like, You don't want to come up here. Like, yeah, this is going to be, I mean, following Jesus. You sure? You sure about that?
Yeah, that's good.
Of
Count the
course,
cost.
now I do got to put this in. My buddy Brant Hansen, we get together every once in a while and debate big topics. And something he was dropping on me recently is that we always think of following Jesus as harder. Because deny yourself, take up your cross, follow me. That sounds like, well, that's harder. But Jesus said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So he goes, I actually argue that following Jesus is easier than not following Jesus. Your life, think about the life of someone who follows Jesus' ways. Like, the ramifications of your choices are so much easier. Maybe
Yeah.
the microscopic choices themselves feel harder in the moment, but ultimately being a disciple is an easier road. He talked about when you build your house on the rock or the sand. That building, have you ever tried to build a house on sand? It's actually so much harder than building it on a rock. Okay, I'll stop now.
You're good. Keep going. It's I'm just processing all of this.
Sorry, I'm coming at you. I drank a lot of coffee right before this.
I'm drinking it right now, and I'm asking the questions, so
Yeah.
it's really good. What advice would you have for worship leaders today who
Worship feeders.
worship feeders? I'm sorry. They, in 3 days they're going to stand before their congregations again and lead their church in congregational singing. How should we steward those moments? What disposition would be helpful for us to have? Because oftentimes I think we feel sort of like a resident, like entertainer, like a hype man, like let's just get people into it so that the pastor can step up there and have an effective delivery because the room is there. Just any encouragement or advice to worship feeders.
So, any musician, if you go to their concert, okay, think this through. You've paid a ticket, you're going to a concert. You show up and they go, I gotta play you these hits. Yeah, this is the worst concert ever. But an artist that you love who gets up and goes, dude, listen to this song. Isn't it so good? So good. There's that, C.S. Lewis said someone who's actually humble, he says they actually come across, if you're truly humble, you come across arrogant. Because you're not thinking high or low of yourself, you're thinking of yourself less. The thing I remember when I would facilitate worship for a youth group at a big church, and I'd have these volunteers, these older volunteers, and they would be policing the kids during worship. Hey, be into it. Hey, be into it. Be into it. Be into it. I remember going, you guys,
Get excited.
you guys, why are you asking them to do something that you're not doing?
Okay.
You're telling them to worship, but you're policing. And so the thing I always say to worship teams is the number one responsibility that we have in worship is enjoyment. Enjoy God. I mean, taste and see the Lord is good is a command. And we treat that like that's optional. But how on earth are you going to say, hey, come and see if you aren't delighting yourself? And so I say take the pressure off. All you got to do is show up and enjoy God. Now you rehearse because you don't want to be a hindrance, and you want to facilitate the best you can, make it as easy as possible for people to meet with God, right? But at the end of the day, you're not responsible for them worshiping, but you delight, and you'll be amazed at how invited others will feel to do the same.
That's so good. I'm actually reading this book, C.S. Lewis, Reflections on the Psalms. And I read this morning, actually. I'm going to pull this up. I just love this. It says, the psalmists, in telling everyone to praise God, are doing what all men do when they speak of what they care about. I think we delight to praise what we enjoy because the praise not merely expresses but completes the enjoyment. It is its appointed consummation.
Yeah.
Fully to enjoy is to glorify. In commanding us to glorify him, God is inviting us to enjoy him. Come on.
Boom. And something I used to love, I've heard it said, there's two ways to glorify something. If you think of the word glorify as similar to the word magnify, you can magnify something like a telescope or a microscope. And a lot of us think that it's our job to magnify God like a microscope. Like, okay, I know God's really tiny and he's not very important to you and he's not very exciting, but let me try to show you how great God is.
So true.
But we actually magnify him when we do it right. We magnify him like a telescope. Kind of the same thing. I know God looks real tiny to you, real far off, not very amazing. Look through this telescope. Oh, God is actually way bigger than we realize. Way more majestic, way more amazing, way more delightful. So glorify God like a telescope, not a microscope.
Mm-mm. That's a sermon right there. Can you drop that mic? Can you pick up that microphone and just drop it? Just
I'm gonna do a little Instagram on that one. I think that's Instagrammable.
That's Instagram worthy for sure. Mike, this has been so good. So I want to close with this. I got to let you go at some point.
Yes.
So 10th Avenue North is back, baby. Back on the map. It's like, psych. We never really went anywhere. So talk to us about the second coming here and what you're excited about this new batch of songs, new season. You already revealed the album title. You heard it here first, folks.
Oopsies.
But really excited about this, man. This is exciting. Talk to us about it.
So I loved being in 10th Avenue North. I love writing songs. I love performing songs. I love serving the church with music. I love being a bridge. So many people said I never had listened to music about God, and your band was the first band that I listened to that kind of crossed that bridge for me. And as much as I loved it, we had always said we would never let our band be the altar on which we sacrifice our families. So in 2018, my drummer, we started the band together. He said, when my oldest daughter starts middle school, I'm quitting the band. It was just a thing that he had always said. And she was starting middle school. And so he took a job with Compassion. And then my piano player, he said, my wife and I have been talking and we just want to start an organic farm. And I want to move to Jupiter. I have like sort of seasonal depression. And I think it would just be super good for me being in the sun, being next to her parents. And we're going to move down to Florida. Okay. And then beginning in 2020, my wife said, hey, we have 4 daughters and I cannot do it by myself right now. I need you to come off the road. And I said, how long? She goes, I don't know. But the second I said to my 2 remaining band members, we'd actually had a bunch of people come and go in the band over the years, but the 2 guys who'd been in it the longest, I said, hey, I think I need to take time off. They go, actually, we want to be done touring, like family stuff, different job stuff. I go, really? Yeah. So I think prematurely, I said, well, the band's over. And then COVID, like all bands were over. And so got into the pandemic just kind of like, what am I doing? I still feel like this is what my calling. I feel like that's what I'm gifted to do. So I started writing solo music thinking that's what you got to do. Until this past year, my wife came to me and said, "Hey, all our girls are in." My wife came to me and said, "Actually, you've been home quite a lot."
Time to
And
get
she
back out
said,
there.
"Yeah," she said, "Hey, I still think you are made to do this, and I think you're a band guy. Like as much as you could do solo music, you always talk to me about the importance of community, collaboration, all these things. And if you're gonna keep doing music, you need to do the band." And I support it because our girls are all in school now. It's a different season. I can actually handle you being on the road. Now we're not gonna ever tour as much as we did. And so I went to my old band members, was like, "Come out of retirement." They're like, "No, we're good, man. It's pretty good over here." And but I had been making music with some other guys, and I said, "Hey, I might bring the band back." All my former band members were like giving me their blessing. Jeff, even who is my guitarist for forever, he's actually still co-writing songs with us. He's actually on a trip right now in Montana with my new guitar player. They're writing songs.
Amazing.
Um, and so it was just this beautiful thing because our band we didn't break up. Everyone just retired, basically. And I thought that I had to retire the name of the band. And then one by one, all my band members go, "You should bring the band back. I think it's less confusing for everybody if you're going to keep doing music. Um, you should just do it as 10th Ave because that's how people know you, you know?"
Right.
And so yeah, it's just this beautiful, and the team, I mean, I prayed and prayed and prayed, like, "Hey, God, if I'm gonna do this band again, you're gonna need to bring a pretty incredible team." And it it really has felt, I know people say this all the time, but it has just felt like God has just plopped these crazy musicians, men of God, who just, love it. And so here we are. And it was cool. We just released a song 2 weeks ago that I don't like using the word mainstream. Again, I don't like categorizing things as Christian or mainstream because if you just slap a label Christian on music, Jesus gets blamed for a lot of bad songs. Um,
It's good.
and when you
It's just
slap
music.
mainstream on it, you close yourself off to hearing a lot of beautiful things. I actually know a lot of people in a lot of mainstream bands who love Jesus
Right.
and just don't use that language when they write songs. Just doesn't feel authentic to them. Because worship music is kind of like this bank of these words. These are the ones you're allowed to use, you know. And anyhow, but we had this song we put out, get on this huge global playlist, and it was the only, song about Jesus on the playlist, which was pretty cool.
Love it.
So we're feeling like, okay, God, you want us to do this? You're gonna have to open some serious doors. Uh, but until my wife is like, well, and for the foreseeable future, it feels like this is what I should be doing.
What's different about this batch of songs than maybe past records?
That's hard to say. I felt this. I've always just tried to write songs that I know I would always believe are true, and a song that I can always sing no matter what circumstance I'm in, and that remains to be true. And all I could say is we did a bunch of festivals just last month and saw a lot of old friends from a lot of different bands. We Are Messengers being one of them,
Yeah.
wearing his hat, and
I
had a lot of friends.
just had them on the podcast like 6 months ago or so.
Oh, nice.
So
I'm made in the image of God. Um, but I just had a bunch of musician friends. They all said, "Man, watching it now, it just feels like you have more weight and more joy to what you're doing than I've ever
mm,
seen." And I mean, that's what you want. Weighty joy. Sign me up.
love it. When's the release day here?
I don't know. We haven't figured that out. We're just dropping songs by themselves right now,
Yep.
and then we'll decide which of those songs will be on the album. Been writing a ton of gosh, I got one song that my buddy said, "That's the best song you've ever written." And it's not out yet, but excited.
Coming soon. ... Mike, this has been such a joy. Love your thoughtfulness and sort of the playfulness that you go about serious work. And you take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously, which I think is a very healthy way to approach life. And excited for this new music, man. I know you can stream a handful of new songs currently right now, 10th Avenue North, but looking forward to the full project. So,
Dude, thank you. I just read this quote. I'm going to end with this. Maturity is going from having thin skin and a tough heart to thick skin and a sensitive heart.
Drop that
Not
mic
good?
again. That's so good, bro. So good. So many like nuggets
Dave.
to take away from here. A lot of good stuff. So appreciate you, Mike. Any last words? Any where do you want people to go to like connect with you, connect with the band? Where's the best place to go? Insta?
Insta's pretty good. I mean, we're older, I guess. We're not on the TikTok train as much. We're on there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you slide into my DMs, man.
There you
That's
go.
how we connected.
That's right.
Slide into those DMs, bro. The thing, yeah, so all our tour stuff information's at 10thavenuenorth.com, but socials are good. And I would say the thing I've really been trying to work on is in Timothy, I think it's 1 Timothy 6:6, it says, and contentment with godliness is great gain. It's interesting. It doesn't say with godliness and great gain, there is contentment.
The
It's with
backwards kingdom.
godliness. I think it's with godliness and contentment, there is great gain. Not with godliness and great gain, you get content. And so just the offer is to actually be content where we are.
Love that.
Will give us the great gain that we were trying to get.
That's right. You're just a walking Instagram reel. Like,
you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's over 20 years of being in a band where a solo artist, you can just talk and nobody's telling you to stop. When you're in a band, like you have 1 minute between songs. It better hit, bro. So I've as a songwriter, you're always trying to reduce your thoughts into the most concise verbiage possible.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. I try.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Thanks,
you, man.
Dave.